Welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. This is your host, Steve, and today's guest is Josh Clarkweiss from Full Circle Forest Products. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How are you, Steve?
I'm well. Hey, so we spoke, I don't know, a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know. It's pandemic, COVID time. It's hard to tell when we met people, but we connected, and you were doing something interesting at the time. We were potentially going to work together because you were putting together a grant. And so before we get into all of that, because like Josh's story is so interesting, I'm excited for him to have him on. He's also part of our mentorship program. But Josh, why don't you tell everybody about your business, Full Circle? Tell us the origin story. How did it start?
So, Full Circle Forest Products started with a portable sawmill that I bought used from our neighbors who had it sitting in their shed for a very long time. It was manufactured the year that I was, so 91, and I got started just doing small custom jobs for my neighbors and taking on a few portable jobs here and there, but mostly people putting up homes in the area that were wanting specific products like flooring or timbers milled for their projects. And it kind of snowballed from there. We started expanding when we realized there's a possibility of getting a grant to take on urban salvaged logs in Kirksville, Missouri. I heard about this grant through another portable mill, Tom the Sawyer in Kansas City, who told me about another mill in Kansas City that had gotten it. It's a Missouri grant that basically helps pay for equipment for businesses that will take on landfill waste and process them into a marketable product. It's a market development grant, and so I had heard that they were giving out. They had given grant money to other sawmills, and I got excited about the idea of getting a kiln and some other equipment, because I realized pretty quickly that being able to kiln dry the lumber I was producing would sort of take us to the next level. And I applied for that grant, and we got awarded the grant, and it was for 50% of a vacuum kiln and a skid steer and an edger. And we were able to get the other 50% from a rural economic development loan from our electric co-op. And so we kind of pieced together funding to expand, and now we are in our second phase, our growth phase, and are sort of providing expanded services and have a wider focus than we did before.
That's incredible. And so these grants, you have to pay them back?
From the electric co-op, it's a low interest loan. The rural economic development, it's a loan. And then but we actually received a third grant from our local solid waste district for it's basically the same grant that the state provides for taking on landfill waste, but at a local level and at a district level. So we were able to apply for both, and we were able to get a forklift through that grant. And so, there was no way we would have been able to expand without this outside funding. And we're extremely grateful for the opportunity that was given to us, basically for focusing on production by sustainable means, and developing the market that we're in.
That is so incredible. That is
Yeah.
so incredible. I mean, just that, because I feel like a lot of times people in the sawmill industry think they need to like sweat it out when you actually reframe what you're actually doing is that they gave you those grants because you're actually saving the state a ton of money.
Right. Yep.
Right? They would have to divert that. They'd have to spend so much money to process or even dispose of the things that you're making forest products out of.
Yeah. Yeah. And what they're excited about and what we're excited about is developing this market that is basically prioritizing the ethical sourcing of wood over sort of what's trending, and trying to market a product that develop the market that would sort of pave the way for other businesses to then come in and be able to sustain themselves by marketing products that they aren't. It's not all white oak and walnut, and we're limited in what we can do because of these grants.
Yeah.
And and it has a lot of challenges because of that limitation. We're required to take on a certain amount of tonnage, or at least aim for it per quarter. And that does limit us from processing purely based on orders. We're but that's what's kind of special about what they're doing, what they're offering, and what our business is doing, is that we're sort of prioritizing what's available. We're trying to make that trend rather than what basically sort of shift focus from what people want to what our ecosystem and what
nature's providing at the moment.
What exactly the abundance that is being provided to us. How can we make the most of that and make products that people want and develop that as a market?
Josh, you just gave me goosebumps because in this really, really interesting way, and I see where you're going with it. It's kind of like the old, like old times where, like, when somebody, like a baker, they had enough bread for the day, and then that was it, right? And then they didn't make any more of that type of bread. They made based off of what was available to them, and the market bought it, right? And it was it adhered by certain standards. There were different community rules. Like the market respected it too, right? And I feel like the way you're doing it is really like on the forefront, really, of like, because I talk to a lot of people, right? Like I definitely talk. And so like everything's custom. But like this is like a different shift. And if you think about it, it is very like hyper sustainable. Like it's like mega sustainable, right? Like you're literally taking because you're a lot of times people are either saying, oh, I want this and this and this, but then you may not have it. So then they're shipping stuff from like outside the state, then making even more of a dent on the economic and impact, right? Economic impact. So therefore it's like really local, right?
Exactly.
So the awesome thing about this is that like this isn't just a fad for you. This is a real lifestyle. Like tell everybody about where you live and like just and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, I've set my life up, prioritizing sustainability in my life, and I've made some commitments and choices. I chose when I was in my early 20s to move to a commune in Northeast Missouri. We all of our income was pooled into a central bank account. We're a working farm. Since the community has shifted away from the income sharing, but what drew me to the farm, and I still live here, it's called Sand Hill Farm in Northeast Missouri. And what drew me here was that people were trying to grow all their food, not just like, I have a garden because I like to garden and I like to get my hands dirty. No, this was like, 80 to 90% of the food that we ate for, it's a 40-year community for decades, was grown here, including the corn, the beans, the grain, all the bread that we ate was baked from wheat that we grew and harvested, all the vegetables, all the meat. And, the things we would buy would be, coffee and chocolate or, some spices, but that is what drew me to this lifestyle. And I haven't left, and I'm still committed to it, but it's shifted away a little bit from organic farming. We grew sorghum to produce sorghum syrup. We sold to, large food co-ops around the Midwest and Whole Foods. And, but I've shifted to basically towards the wood market. And what I'm trying to do with Full Circle Forest Products is sort of analogous to the organic food movement, where, we're trying, like you said, we're trying to process what's available to us. And this method, is prioritizing sustainability over trends. And there's a difficulty to that, but there's also a trend growing that people, even in luxury, home building, are choosing sustainability, over what the going trend is. And that is because of the ethics and the morals behind it. And because we physically are seeing the consequences of climate change. And it's forcing people to really consider the real life choices that they make, what they put in their home, the furniture that they buy, the food that they buy, the lives they live, the travel they take. And, the wood industry is one aspect of it, but that's sort of the direction I went. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, again, you're definitely on the forefront. I feel like there are people, right? Like one of our episodes, we had Randall from Fireside Sawmill, and you should definitely check them out because he helped pass. Well, he's helping to work to pass a law policy to allow sort of urban salvage logs for framing, for housing and framing.
Yeah.
And he got it passed in the state Senate in North Carolina. No, the state House. But then the Senate like vetoed it didn't pass it because they were in the pocket of big lumber. Right. And so I think even what you're doing now is like, because like the benefit of it too is like it's not just providing local jobs and keeping the money in the economy, but it's also you're helping to market and develop a sense of pride for your community and the surrounding city, right? It's like, hey, this is truly local wood, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's the idea is exploring, what is beautiful, it is beautiful, the sustainable option, or is it, hiring someone to harvest, 200-year-old white oak, and high grade. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but the term high grading is basically going into the forest and taking out the highest grade lumber and leaving everything else. And the everything else is what will reproduce. So, if we look at our forest and we say, what if we take the worst first? And that's an old logging saying that, what if we take the worst first and then leave the highest grade trees to regenerate? Those are the forests we're going to leave the future generations. And so, it's sort of the opposite of high grading. It's, trying to show and share with people the value of what's available, of what's right in front of our faces, and showing the beauty in using the everyday, using the trees that are all around, like the American elm and the cottonwood and the sycamore, around me. These are the trees that are everywhere. And instead of, just pulling out all the white oak and walnut, which I do. I love white oak and walnut, and we do sell white oak and walnut too, but we sell it when it becomes available to us. And we actively manage our woodlands as well. We're not just taking in urban salvaged logs. We're also actively managing a 150-acre woodland on our farm, following a forest management plan that was written up by the Conservation Agency. And in that, this year we were able to harvest 51,000 board feet just by thinning.
Wow.
That we thinned the overcrowded species, and harvested the ash that had gotten hit by emerald ash borer, and plenty of oak and as well, plenty of high grade stuff. But it was based on the health, creating a healthier forest, a healthier woodland, not necessarily letting the market dictate all the choices that we make.
Wow. That's that's, I love that a lot. So why don't you tell everybody about your the current business right now? So you got the grant money. I would say back up a little bit. You have the mindset, you have the business model, right? You acquired the funds in order to get the resources to harvest all of this local timber. Like what's business like now? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we're working with a local furniture manufacturer, providing them live edge tabletops, book match live edge slab tabletops for furniture line, and we're working with lumber outlet in Chicago, Owl Hardwood, and we're providing them kiln dried boules, and then we're also doing a lot of custom work. People come to us with ideas for furniture or build outs, tables. We've done a lot of countertops this year, and then we're also with that, that 51,000 board feet of mixed hardwood species. We cut into flooring material and 4/4, 5/4, 6/4 dimensional, and so flooring, cabinetry, build outs, and we're going to be able to provide that, dry full kiln loads by species, and we're sort of straddling, a selling to lumber outlets, just kiln dried lumber, and also providing custom furniture and custom milling services. So we're kind of in both worlds in that regard. And but we have learned a lot in terms of what is the best use for urban salvaged for our urban salvage logs, and what is the best use for our American Tree Farm certified lumber, which is the lumber that comes from our forest. And dimensional, it's hard to sell small amounts of mixed species to a lumber buyer. For urban salvage lumber is mixed lengths, a lot of mixed species. And so, for people that are buying in quantity, that's not necessarily the market there. That's more of our custom work and live edge slabs and furniture builds, where the American Tree Farm certified lumber from our woodland is more, marketed towards lumber buyers that want, 500 to 2,000, board feet in a pack of grade lumber, or of just one species even.
Yeah. And what's been the challenge so far with this model since now that you've started implementing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is a market development grant that we got. And so we're developing this market. And I think, so what has been a challenge for me is that we're not in an urban environment. We're salvaging logs from an urban area, but we don't have a showroom in a city. We don't have a warehouse in a city where we can get the volume of walk-in customers, or get the sort of get face access to the quantity of luxury buyers that I think would be ideal. And so that has been a challenge. I think that, like I said, people aren't necessarily trying to buy, 50 board feet of American Elm here, or, 100 board feet of honey locust there. In the rural areas, there's a bunch of sawmills, and we're sort of running up against what people are used to. People think of urban salvaged lumber in rural environments. They largely think of it as yard trees with metal in it. And we get a lot of that. And so that is the challenge. We really are trying to create and develop a market in this rural environment, and so by sharing what we see as really really valuable lumber, but not in the traditional way. It's sort of yeah. That's pretty much it. That's it right there.
Yeah. Cool. Is there what do you think has been like the biggest sort of game changer for your business?
Well,
at least in the past year.
I think trying to stop trying to do it. We stopped trying to do everything ourselves. At some point, like I said, I have a mill that is from 1991, and I make it work. But at some point I realized, if I'm going to get through 50,000 board feet, I have to call on help. And so, I found someone outside of St. Louis, Tyler of Patton Woodworks. I bet some of your followers, follow him on YouTube or Instagram. He's a great guy, and he's come up to our farm a couple times, and we actually, a few weeks ago, we sawed 30,000 board feet in 3.5 days.
Wow.
With we had a crew of 7 people, and it was pretty spectacular. It's on par with commercial mills, and we had, so that's been a game changer, finding ways to creatively get more done than what we could do by ourselves. In the same way that the grants have done that for us. Just stop trying to grind through it all by my own, and ask for help when I need it.
I wholeheartedly believe that mindset that you had before holds back most wood businesses, is that the belief that just because you can do it, that doesn't mean you should, right? Yeah. Like, there are better use of your time. And that's some great insight. So so this is a part of the interview where I help you with any marketing and business questions. And actually, before we go into that, you did our Woodpreneur mentorship program.
I did.
You were one part of the cohort. What was it? Could you describe that experience?
Well, I got to meet a lot of people that ran wood businesses, and that was, a really great opportunity to have access to a whole bunch of people doing similar things in one place, and to ask questions and to hear their story and to get their experience. And some of the questions that other people asked, I wouldn't have thought of to ask myself. And there was an accelerated learning because of that. You don't know what you don't know. and some of the things that other people were thinking about and the tracks that they were on sort of opened my eyes to different ways of doing things and different possibilities. And I just, you really hammered home the importance of brand, and that has helped me realize, that it is important, and I've seen the impact of creating our brand and like I said, trying to really position ourselves as a group of people who are doing what we do, prioritizing the ethics and sustainability of it.
That's great. And what aside from the mentorship, like, who do you think the mentorship program is for?
Oh, it seemed like people that are already producing and in production and need a little help figuring out how to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that that's a pretty broad group of people.
Yeah.
But I think anyone who's looking for a way to grow and to look at their own business from the outside view and get perspective on the way that one is doing things, it could be really helpful.
Awesome. Hey, so this is a part of the where I just give you advice. So is there anything that you need to think through? And obviously, because we work together, you can always ask me, but is there anything that you need to think through, a challenge that you need some advice on?
Yes. Always.
Always.
Yeah. Well, I've been curious about just the dynamic of, when is it if there's stale inventory or there's inventory that isn't selling, when is it appropriate to, when is it appropriate to take that inventory and turn it into something else versus just keep trying to find the right market for it? And that's a little bit of a vague question, but there's curiosity there around how to know if the product is wrong or I'm not looking in the right place.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. So, like, could you give me an example? Is it like a flooring product? Is it slabs? Like, what do you think? Or is it a species? Give me.
Yeah, I think so. It ties into what I was saying earlier about it has been hard for me to sell packs of lumber that for example, let's say a pack of 80 board feet of surfaced American elm, and I or a pack of 200 board feet of white oak, because a lot of the people that I do business with are looking for larger quantities. And I've been told oh yeah, just put it up on Facebook Marketplace. There's tons of people like woodworkers out there trying to buy small amounts of wood, and I have found that that's not true for my location.
Yeah.
And so my question is basically, when do I decide to take that pack of 80 board feet of American Elm and make a glue up into a tabletop, try to sell that, or turn it all into cutting boards and put it up
For sure.
online. Is it, and it might be location or product based, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had talked about this before. It comes down to building a community, right, around yourself. And I think now, like, you're much further now than when we first started. Like, you have a little bit more capacity in terms of production, whereas, and now you've built a little bit of a team around you too. Like, so you have help, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think now is like the same way that when we first met, you created agreements to help secure some of the larger sort of these grants, right? Like, you created relationships. I think now you need to do the same thing, but for these particular products. So we had talked about, joining Facebook groups, joining different woodworking clubs, other like-minded like organizations. So like, what's how far are you? What's the nearest major city from you? Is it St. Louis? No.
St. Louis is 3.5 hours. But that might be the closest. Fairfield, there are a bunch of smaller cities near me.
Yeah. So I think right then and there, to me, it's like, use whatever platform you have and literally make every one of your ideal target customers your friend. Literally your friend. Like, get them all in a group together and just say, look, from time to time, I have some stuff that I need to unload, and I want to be able to go to you first in order to unload it before I go out to the open market. Right. And so at that point, you're like, listen, I got all this stuff. It could be used for book match tabletops. It could be used for charcuterie stock, whatever it is. But I need to get rid of this stuff because my business model necessitates that I only provide what's on hand. Like that's the mindset that you should have. The second thing is literally go out and make friends with every single one of these audiences. And it's so easy. Friend them on Facebook, find them on LinkedIn, find them on Twitter, but it's mainly Instagram and Facebook that you can do that just to but then for it, and it's less about like the quantity, it's more about the quality. So then you like slide into their DMs. It's like, hey, I noticed that you're a woodworker in St. Louis. Hey, I noticed that you're a woodworker in Chicago. I'm up in Chicago all the time. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I'd love to give you first dibs on what I have on hand. Can I get your email? Literally, that's all you got to do. Say, hey, can I get your email? I'd love to tell you when I have more on stock, more in stock. And then every month you just say, hey, you can send people a text message. Hey, this is what I have on hand. Follow them. Like every time you're producing something, tag them just to let them know. I mean, here's a quick tip. There's somebody that I know that whenever he salvages a massive log, you know what he does? He tags a certain big name influencer just to stay on their radar. Because every now and then, whenever they have a really big log, they buy that log from him. He mills it and he ships it to them. You see what I'm saying? So it's literally, it's about, so at that point, so you're worried about like, not worried, but like you're busy building the big market, but there's all these little niche markets. You should be like, I mean, I bet you there's somebody right now that's in a neighboring state that is buying their lumber from somebody at 2 or 3 times the amount
Mm-hmm.
that you could be moving your product. Well, it could be charcuterie stock, it could be slabs, it could be tables, whatever, kiln dried stuff that they'd be happy to put it on a truck and send it to their place at half the cost. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, if I were you, I'd be building a market of like 4 or 5 hours outside of me, and make sure that every single woodworker, lumberyard is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to do that? Go to Fiverr and ask somebody to scrape a database for you. Pay them $50 to do it. They'll put everything in get you their name, email, phone number, Facebook, their Instagram account, and then start slowly adding them, DMing them, texting them, what have you. Cool?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. You can scrape Fiverr or you can scrape for woodworkers. Is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, you're gonna scrape for like lumber yards and mill workshops and wood shop.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, what any last bit of parting advice for the Woodpreneur community?
Try to find ways to get better and just keep plugging away, but also take care of yourself. It's and I give this advice because I need it too, but a lot of us are really, really hustling and grinding hard, and if we don't take care of ourselves, then it won't work.
So why don't you tell everybody how they can get in touch? What's your website and Instagram?
Yeah, my website is fullcircleforestproducts.net, and my Instagram is Full Circle Forest Products.
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much for being a part of the Woodpreneur community, sharing your story, and being really inspiring. I'm really, really happy with how far you've come and all the progress that you made. I love what you've done.
Well, thanks for being with me along the way, Steve. I appreciate it.